Guys, it's Donna again from Iron Horse Vintage. Going to do another video on how I paint the wood scrap pins, and this time we're going to use a different method, so pay attention. Okay, so once again, pins from the Christmas collection, the before and afters, but let's take a look at some of the tools again in case you missed the first video. So we're going to use things like tiny paintbrushes, the kind that they would use in a nail salon. Paint pens, I like Posca right now, they're my favorite. I like micron pens for doing black outlining and accenting because I find that they don't bleed as much as my paint pens. The pin pen, which will change your life, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Makeup sponges are not just for makeup anymore. Probably my favorite tools are these distress inks from Ranger and Tim Holtz. The Vintage Photo is the most used of all of the colors that I have. You can use it for a lot of different things. And you're going to put these on with this blending tool here and this foam dauber. You can get them packs like this, and these little foam daubers also can be sold individually, and they go on very easily. They just attach with Velcro, so when you're done with one, you can add a new one. Simple as that. They're not a one and done, so you can use them multiple times. And of course, last but not least, lots and lots of paint. Alrighty, let's get started. Today, we're going to look at these two. And the reason I've chosen these two, the snowman and the Santa, is because we're going to use our makeup sponges, and they've both got a lot of white areas on them. So let's put the finished ones aside for now. And let us grab our pin pen. So the trick to making sure that you get the white paint on the pin without getting it into the engraved areas is to use one of these makeup sponges. But the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to take the tape off of the areas that will be painted white. So with your little pin pen, you just pick it and pull it. And on the Santa, we're going to do his beard. I can grab it. Let's try again. There we go. His mustache. I had someone take this pin and enlarge it and made a door hanger out of it. It turned out really, really cool. And we're going to take the white from his hat off. And last but not least, we're going to grab the little trim from his hat at the ball area. Now, I typically sand my wood before I put it into the Glow Forge, but sometimes it's still a little rough. So these sanding sponges are really good for just adding a little bit of smoothness to it. And you can go right over the tape that's still left, and it makes a nice smooth finish for painting. Okay, I am a messy crafter, so just go with it. All right, what I have here is a sheet of Mylar, and if you don't have a sheet of Mylar, wax paper works just as well. So I'm going to take a little bit of my white paint. I'm going to squeeze it onto the Mylar. You can get these on Amazon. They come in different sizes. The good thing about them is you can wash everything off when you're done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab one of these makeup sponges, and I'm just going to dip it into the paint. Then I'm going to come over and I'm going to dab it onto the wood. Super simple. There we go. We're going to go up here to the hat. And you notice that I am getting paint on the areas of his face. And that's okay because we left the masking tape on there. And just a little bit more up here for the ball of his hat. Now we're going to go and do the same thing with the snowman. Super easy, super quick, and you're not getting any paint in those engraved eyes. Okay, now we're going to let this dry. Okay, so while we were gone, I let the first coat dry, and then I added a second coat to make sure that they were really, really white. And what I'm going to do now is going to peel away the tape from Santa's face, and you can see all clean. And I'm going to do the same with the nose for our little snowman. And again, same thing, all nice and clean. So what you would do with the nose is obviously you would paint it. But if you were using an overlay, so a two-layered version of this particular pin, you could certainly paint that little piece, but I'm not a fan of painting little pieces. So this is where I go back to my inks, or my ink pads, and my daubers. So the color I'm going to use is Carved Pumpkin. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that little tiny piece, I'm going to take my dauber, I've already put a used orange foam pad on it. Like I said, you can use these over and over again. Sometimes there's enough ink in it that you don't even need to open up the ink pad, and that's what we have this time. So really super easy, super quick way to paint that nose without having to use a paintbrush. And again, if I was using the star on his hat, I could do the same thing. You just pull this one off, put my yellow one on. I'm going to try. Yeah, I do have some ink in there too. La la la. Put that on there. Voila, painted. We're going to put those over to the side. And then the next thing we would do would be to actually paint the hats for both Santa and the snowman. So I'm going to peel up the paint for his hat. I'm going to peel up the paint for this hat. And because the snowman, we're doing the scored version, I'm going to leave the tape where the star is, because this way we can paint that later. Now, because we've already got white on here, we don't want to use the sponge method. So we're actually back to using good old-fashioned paintbrush. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll come back. Okay, so we painted the Santa and the snowman. And then once again, after it was dry, I went over it again with this finishing pad. And these are from 3M, Final Finishing Pad. You get 4 in the package. I usually cut them in half because otherwise they're just way too big. Okay, so next is to add a little bit of detail. Now, I like to distress these a tiny bit because I like that kind of folk art look. So I take a little scrap of 400 grit sandpaper and basically just sand around the edges. And it gives things a little bit of a worn look. You can be as diligent or not about how much you want to sand it, in what places you want to sand it. But I like it on the color, so I'll do it on the black hat, which gives that a little worn look. I can't get to his nose, so we're going to leave that be. Okay, and then I'm just going to brush off again with this sanding pad, and always go in the direction of the wood grain. Okay, so now, if you notice this Santa, he's got some nice brown edges. And how did I do that? Well, back to our distress inks and my favorite vintage photo. I'm just going to hold him and go gently around the edges. Just like that, real easy. And it just gives him, again, a little bit more of a worn look. Just like that. Do the same with the snowman if you like. There's no right or wrong way to do this, but just kind of stay on the edges and add as much or as little as you'd like. So that gives him a little bit of that kind of dirty edge folk art look. Then my micron pens. For this one, I'm going to use the 03, I think. Another good thing about the vellum, you can kind of draw on it and then clean it off and make sure you're using what you want. Maybe I'm going to go with the 01. Okay, so I'm just going to draw some little accent lines on his hat. So a little line here, 2 little dots. Go this way a little bit, add a couple more, come this way a little bit, add more, add one more. Looks cute. I'm going to do the same on the snowman. I'm going to go around his head, a little bit here, and then down here. Voila. I'm going to use the 03 because it's a little bit thicker to put those dots around Santa's beard. And just use your eye. You know, you don't have to, it's not an exact science. Just put them around. There you go. Now, all I have to do is add a little bit of white. Again, my Posca marker. 3 little dots on Santa's hat. Get them out of the way. 2 little dots on our snowman's hat. Oops, and I forgot to put the lines on his nose. 1, 2, 3. I'll tie a piece of jute around his neck, like a little scarf, like this one. And then they're all done. Thanks for watching.